because I know they were substantial figures in what was asked.
Thank you very much, Simon. Yeah, we'll leave Andy just to mop up, so to speak, with regard to those issues. And then if members are quite happy, we'll then go into a discussion about any possible recommendations that we've actually got for the budget proper. Thank you. Andy, over to you.
Thanks, Martin. So in terms of picking up Councillor Carr's question, first of all, about the reviews in adult social care, you would have realised over the past 2 or 3 years, I'm sure through previous scrutiny of the budget, that there's always been a line in the budget around adult social care reviews. It isn't a new thing this year, although I do appreciate the figure is quite significant. Our adult social care service has a good track record of undertaking social work reviews with customers, and this has delivered savings over the past 3 years in the budget. So we have reflected that again moving forward in the proposed budget proposals. As ever, the reviews are social work led, and they are done on a client by client or customer by customer basis. And it's all about ensuring that we've got the most appropriate care package in place, whilst also assuring that packages are adjusted accordingly following any rehabilitation support or where there's been a change in customers' needs or requirements. And we appreciate that that might mean that support goes up, but it also may mean that support reduces, because support is often put in at the point of an assessment when there's been a change in circumstances or context for an individual. Those reviews, which is a new element, will be undertaken across both our community social work teams, which is where we've traditionally done most of our reviews, our learning disabled service or preparing for adult service, and in our mental health teams. And what we've done is that figure's not been plucked out of thin air. It is based on analysis that we've done by going through, client by client in a fairly forensic way around those people that we will need to focus on in terms of reviews going into 22-23. In terms of the social impact bond, this is an existing saving that I think was agreed, it was agreed by full council last year. The number is very specific at 364 because that's based specifically on children that will form part of the focus here. I'm not going to go into background about social impact bonds. I think it was picked up at a risk surgery last year that members would have attended. But essentially, in a nutshell, this is about rather than traditionally commissioning placements in the way that we might ordinarily do, say through block contracts or through commissioning a provider to provide X number of placements. This is about working with a provider with funding from government and also funding that we would put in at the end of a process around outcomes, commissioning for outcomes essentially. And the outcomes here are around appropriately reducing the costs of children, placements, and also getting children back home where we can. So this is an arrangement that we've got jointly with Nottingham County and Nottingham City. It's a D1 N2 arrangement. It took about 3 years to get to the point that we launched it a year or so ago. It had a long lead-in time, but actually is really making an impact. So this is a specific deliverable programme, and we've got children that are absolutely in the system that are forming part of our focus and are reviewed actually robustly now through our placement and commissioning panel that Simon chairs as the 151.
Thank you very much, Andy. Okay, if I can thank officers for that and members as well. What I'd like to do now is move on to the recommendations. I've got 3. I don't know if I'll probably just start off with these 3 and then we can have a look at them and then perhaps take a vote on them. And then that gives you any time to finish off your own recommendations that you wish to make. The first one that I've got is concerning the actual issue that was raised at previous meetings, but it's still there, and the concerns of the public are still there, the concerns of councillors are still there. And that is the recommendation from this is Cabinet Council include in its budget a commitment to provide a centrally located pool if Queen's Leisure and Pool closes, together with a necessary budget provision for this. Now, I think that's quite straightforward. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you. Anybody would be against that recommendation? Could you please indicate? If not, then Alan, yes? Alan wishes to abstain. Otherwise, are we quite happy with that recommendation to go through? Thank you very much. The second one is with regard to the assembly rooms. Cabinet Council provides in its budget, this is the recommendation, a plan with the necessary budget to resolve the decaying assembly room site's future use. Any seconder for that at all? Yep.
Can I just ask whether it's part of the Assemble project, which Councillor Carr asked questions about? So I haven't immediately got that budget line in front of me, but it might be something there already, but I think we ought to check.
Sorry, it might be... Simon.
There is an existing budget in the capital programme. I could find the line for the demolition from the original assembly room budget. And that would be the first call of bringing the project Assemble forward. We would also be looking as part of that project, which I think Rachel has talked about, is part of the site for other sources of funding and other partners to contribute towards bringing that site back into use as the alternative proposal. So there is money in the capital programme for the demolition, Chair.
Yeah, the reason for bringing this, and again, it's up to members to vote on it for or against, but my concerns and my group's concerns and the public's concerns are there's money to demolish it, but there ain't no future, there's nothing in the budget or plans in terms of to use that site. So I would like to state again that Council Cabinet provides in its budget a plan with the necessary budget to resolve the question of the decaying assembly room site's future use. Do you have a seconder? Hardiel, thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I think it needs to acknowledge that there's some work assignments has started in terms of demolition and so on. So, but I do agree that there's no clarity about where the total package is going to. And we had a report previously which talked about partnership with the university and others to sort of really try to create a service there. But I don't see anything clearly coming through. So on that basis, I think, I don't know if your recommendation talks about clarity of funding to complete the project. If that's in there, then I'm happy to support it.
Thank you very much. Okay. Is anybody against Alan?
Well, Chair, I thought that the university was mentioned earlier this evening by Rachel.
I'm saying...
sorry, Hardy.
The university has been mentioned, but it's about aspirations about getting funding rather than actually something happening. And I don't disagree with that. I support that. But there's no clarity about where the funding is going to come for at this moment in time. They are aspirations rather than we need more clarity, I think, in terms of a plan on the phases that will make it deliver. The preparatory work is going on. Simon has mentioned that. In terms of the demolition costs and so on and so forth, but the full picture is still not clear.
You come in, Simon.
You'll notice in the last appendix it talks about the capital ambition, which an amount has been set aside in the capital programme for future investments. What we're trying to do is to responsibly match amounts to schemes as they get developed beyond just a concept, and therefore these, as they get these outline business case developed, will have those costs attached to it. But the report does detail the ambition, and it also details some provision for funding those. So just the context before you consider the recommendation in front of you. Thank you.
I think in line with what Hardiel has just said, I'm going to suggest this, a slight amendment of my own. Cabinet Council provides greater clarity, a budget and a plan to resolve the problem of the decaying assembly room site's future use. Okay, and Hardiel a second. No, I'm moving to
Chair, can I just point out that there is a line in the reserves which is there available for £2 million, which relates to the assembly rooms. So you can't say a budget because a budget already exists. That's for demolition. No, a budget for assembly rooms. It's not committed to demolition. It could be used for something else, like getting it opening again.
Hardiel.
So I'm just concerned that it's not true that there isn't a budget.
Hardiel, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, I think Lucy's right. A budget does exist. Simon's confirmed that. But is it sufficient? So a full
Yeah.
full budget. I mean, I think a budget does exist,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's sufficient. Costings are going to be identified, which still requires the funding to be outsourced.
I think that's helpful. A Cabinet Council provides greater clarity and the necessary budget and plan to resolve the problem of the decaying assembly room site's future use. Okay, so I think we've encapsulated that now.
Chair,
second that.
Could I interrupt the meeting, please, with a point
sure.
of information? Someone's messaged me to say that the live stream for the meeting seems to have stopped at 18:52. Could you just check it's still working, please?
I've restarted
Thank you.
it
Sorry,
again.
Chair.
I've restarted it again, Chair. Thank you.
Sorry?
I don't know what happened, but I've restarted it. Heather pointed it out to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, well, we've heard that. With those amendments, we've taken on board some of the concerns of Lucy and Hardiel. Are we in favour of that? Can you demonstrate? Or, yeah, I think everybody's nodding on that. Thank you very much.
I'll abstain on that, Chair.
Sorry? Yeah.
I'll abstain.
Okay, all right. Alan and Lucy abstain, the rest are voting for that. Have you captured that okay? And that was basically the Council Cabinet provides greater clarity, the necessary budget and a plan to resolve the decaying assembly rooms site's future use. Are you okay with that? Thank you very much. And then my final one, which we encapsulated some of the concerns that Shiraz had, and that was the recommendation is that Council Cabinet recommends that when the executive scrutiny and council makes recommendations or passes a motion, they actually act on these rather than ignore them. Do I have a seconder for that? Shiraz, I don't think you're allowed to vote actually because it's an executive committee. So I think Hardy was about to, apart from scratching his ear, he was about to second that. So Hardy seconds that. Anybody against that or abstains? Alan, you wish to?
Abstain.
Abstain. Anybody against? If not, then we've captured that. Alison.
I have two recommendations, Chair.
Yeah. I'll just let Stephen. Can you nod to me, Stephen, when you're okay with that? Okay. Thank you, Alison. Over to your recommendations now.
Okay, thank you. My first recommendation, shall I read it out, Stephen? Or I'll read it out, shall I? Yep, I think you got it. So the first one concerns the youth and needs support services. So it says, the Council's youth work and needs support services play a vital role in helping some of the city's most deprived and disaffected young people. Whilst work with the Youth Alliance is welcome, the level of need means the Council should be aiming to develop its own youth support, not cut it, which will prove a budget saving on statutory services in the long run. Exec Scrutiny therefore recommends that the proposed £303,000 cut to youth and needs support is rejected by the Council Cabinet.
Neil, you want to second that?
I would second that because
Thank you very much.
before, cutting back the youth services and signposting does not solve the problem.
Okay. I've got people who wish to make a comment. Lucy.
Yeah, I know this is an area in which Derby Homes is doing some work at the moment, and I just wondered if there was anybody here who could give an update on what they are doing.
Is there an officer here who can give an update on what Derby Homes are doing? With regard to this, I'm not aware of anything personally, but I don't know, officers look a little bit bemused as well, Lucy.
Yeah, they have, I can't remember the details, and I think some of it is still exploratory, but they...
So exploratory, we don't know about it.
Yeah, this is why I hope somebody will be able to tell us. But they know that they need to work with young people living on their estates, and they recognise that there is a gap there which needs filling. So there is work happening, and I don't remember the detail.
Okay, Alison, you want to come back?
Just to respond to, I think, Councillor Kerr's point, I think the motion acknowledges that there's good partnership work going on. It references the Youth Alliance, but we know that I'm aware that, I don't know of recent work with Derby Homes, but I know that they do good have done good work in the past. And the point of the motion is to say that there is, nevertheless, despite those efforts, a level of need such that, given that the services are already cut to the bare minimum, that there's no justification for not for making these cuts to this particular service. And there's a lot of need to actually try to develop the service with the budget as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Right, I'm going to move to the vote on that now. We've got a seconder for it. That was you, was it, Hardiel? I think it was, yeah. Can those in favour please show? Anybody against or abstains? Alan abstains. You've got a second recommendation, I understand, Alison.
Thank you, Chair. And I do thank the members of Exec Scrutiny for bearing with me tonight, because I got a lot of input to this meeting. The second one is on the budget of the children's services as a whole, and it goes like this. And Stephen, you got it, haven't you, Stephen? Yeah. So executive scrutiny supports efforts by children's services to reduce the number of children in care and to create more in-house care options for them. Nevertheless, executive scrutiny notes that the trend in recent years has been for an overspend in children's services and increasing numbers of children in care. In order to set a realistic budget, Executive Scrutiny recommends that the Cabinet urgently revisits the budget allocation to children's services with a view to providing contingency funds for children in care, given the underlying trend of increasing numbers in care.
Thank you, Alison. Do we have a seconder for that? Hardiel, thank you very much. Okay, anybody... Everybody, could you indicate whether you support that, please? Those who support it, please indicate. Those against or abstain? Alan, I think, is abstaining. Thank you very much for that. Do you have any more recommendations? Lucy.
Thank you, Chair. I've got three. The first one is to recommend that Cabinet continue to work to reduce silo thinking between the plan themes, as well as between council departments and partners.
Okay, is there a second for that? Mike? Do you want to go to the vote? Yeah.
Please.
Those in favour, please indicate. That's passed. Thank you very much, Lucy. Your second one, please.
The second one, to recommend Cabinet are reassured that there is no double counting of commercial incomes across different budget lines.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that? Mike, seconder for that? That seems pretty... those in favour, please indicate. Those against, please indicate. Or abstain? Abstention from the Doughty Councillor Grimdale. Thank you. And your third recommendation, please, Lucy.
The third one is a bit longer. Exec Scrutiny notes that this council plan may be the first formal policy document stating a Derby zero carbon target date of 2035. There is also clear indications that energy prices are likely to rise dramatically in the next year and onwards. In the light of this, Exec Scrutiny is disappointed that there is minimal investment proposed to replace gas heating or to improve energy efficiency in our buildings, apart from within the HRA, our council house stock. Exec Scrutiny encourages Cabinet to review this area and bring back proposals in this area to Council.
That's encouragement to review. A seconder for that, please. Alison, seconder. Can I have those in favour, please show. Those against, please show. Those abstain, please show. The Doughty Councillor Grimdale. Thank you very much. Are there any more recommendations?
Through the chairs, I'd like to have my abstentions recorded. Stephen.
Of course, Alan. Of course, absolutely. If there are no more recommendations, I'd like to thank all officers for their presentations and their forbearance under very difficult times, and also councillors for their forbearance under very difficult times. And looking forward to the budget meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance.